Hello there. So, welcome back if you're coming back. If you're not, hi. Nice to meet you, I guess. This is my sketchbook. Isn't it pretty? So this is my 5th sketchbook. I know I've done a lot of sketchbook tours. I do want to start doing some new content soon. But this is my most recent sketchbook that I just finished. It's all shiny and metallic, which it's a pity it doesn't show up very well on my camera. So I just finished this yesterday. This was given to me as a gift, and it's adorable. I love the owl. I was a little bit hesitant to use it at first because it has the top binding, which I really don't like. Some people, I imagine people like it because there are a lot of sketchbooks sold with it. I hate it. It makes the sketchbook hard to use, for me. But I do like it's a smaller size, so it's actually a lot easier to use. It's a lot easier to fill the page. The average sketchbook takes me probably 2.5 to 4 years to fill, and this one I filled in less than a year. And some of the reasons I'll talk about through it, but I think a lot of it has to do with it's just so much smaller. It's so much easier to fill a page than when you're trying to draw something and you have to put so much detail in because it's so big if you're doing a close-up or whatever. So if you're looking for suggestions, I suggest a smaller size. So one of the other problems is that I cover every surface of my sketchbook possible. So the top binding makes it hard because I've drawn on the backs. So I'm gonna flip through and start with the back of my pictures, the backs of the paper first, because the other side is where I draw the best picture. So we're starting with the reverse of my really good pictures and the ones that I don't usually want people to see. So here we go. Oh, and this is the brand. Alright, so here's the reverse of my first picture. Sometimes I think the reverses are better than the first drawing. And I'll go back through and you can see them all. Oh my goodness. How many of these did I color? Coloring is nice because it fills up more pages faster. And that's one of the reasons. So this is one of my costume pages. I feel bad if I don't fill a page. So I fill every page, and I ink them all in. My pen wasn't working very well. I fill every single one in. I forgot what I was saying. I am sorry. Anyway, here are some time period costumes. So we have Keelik in a medieval peasant's outfit. He's got the hood with a bib. Here's Lynn in an actual full-length dress, because she does not wear historically accurate clothing, and a medieval hood, and she is adorable. For those of you who don't know, I draw my OCs a lot. I am working currently on a novel series, and most of the people I draw are people from my novel series. So Lynn and Keelik are brother and sister. Lynn's the youngest. She's the main character. Anne is from the first book, and she is the main character of the first book. She is wearing a historically accurate costume, except for the length and the fact that this is a man's tunic. But other than that, it's pretty good. And this is from the 1950s Marvelous Miss Mayville or something design. That's a Tudor hat. I can't draw that on a character. I think it's ugly. So I subscribed to Scrawlrbox this year, and this is one of the pictures I drew with the stuff that I got in the January Scrawlrbox. They basically sent metallic pencils and markers and black paper, which I love. It is so satisfying to fill in the color on black paper. Here's another costume page. Like I said, I put my completed works usually on the other side, but here's Miss more historically accurate outfits. So we've got Lynn in a gambeson, which is like cloth armor, Kryn in a Renaissance dress, and Anne is in an arming jacket. So an arming jacket is what you wear under armor to hold it up. We'll reverse. Here's just a page of poses. I was trying to draw movement. Here's another page of costumes. I don't have much to say about it. I don't like that page particularly. Here's my study of ferrets. I cannot draw animals. I try very hard, but I am not good at animals. So this is a post-it note that I just taped in here because I spent an awful long time drawing on it. This is the Spearmint Princess. It is semi-inspired by Drawing with Waffles design, but I feel like I made it my own enough. And she did peppermint bark, and this is spearmint. Those are two completely different things. So this is Anne again, and these are her sister and brother. So they are triplets. So Anne is the oldest, you've got Aideen, and then Aaron is the youngest. And he was born with 2 arms. He lost his arm. More reverse pictures. This is another Scrawler Box picture. It is a anime bumblebee in watercolor, because why not? The watercolor set did not come with a pretty pink though. That was disappointing. More costumes. You'll probably get sick of costumes. I love to draw clothes. Backgrounds are probably my least favorite thing to do. This is Inktober. So I think a lot of my improvements and a lot of filling up the sketchbook so much were due to Inktober, and I work full time, so having to draw a picture to fulfill prompts within a day actually really helped me learn how to speed up the drawing process. My style changed, and I liked it. Not every picture I drew was awesome, but I did make a lot of awesome improvements. And I followed the prompts for every single day because I work full time, and I just, sometimes I don't have time to be creative, and that is okay. This is another Inktober. This is not Inktober, this is just something I did. So, snow globe head. I love the idea of having a snow globe for a head. I like snow globes in general, the idea of a little world inside this tiny little ball. The font is something I did for a teacher at school, and then I copied it here because it was awesome. Another Inktober. Another Inktober. I don't like her face, but I thought it turned out good. These are not my favorite ones, but more Inktober stuff. Inktober again. And a lot of people liked this one because of the giant. I hate it. So, fun fact. Oops, I skipped a page. Oh, yep, and it was a good one. So this is Lynn, and she's out sledding at night with fairies. Lynn and her best friend Darren on a swing. And this is a sideways picture, which is rare for me, and a background, for the most part, of a magical spring. This is the second day, I believe, and it's a siren who's basically trying to take Kaiden, who is Anne's husband, away, and she's like in the background, "Kaiden, you idiot!" She winds up hitting him. It's awesome. I don't know if I should include that in the book or not, but in my head, it's amazing. These are just random people, but I am very proud of that water. So something else I changed with the sketchbook is the reason why I cover everything in ink and I ink all my lines in is I hate how pencil smudges over time, especially with these top ring binders or sketchbooks. Your pages move all over, they rub against each other, and I've had sketchbooks that just you can't tell what I drew because the graphite rubbed so much, which is really disappointing. So I started covering them in Mod Podge, which gave me the ability to move on in the sketchbook without having to finish a picture that just wasn't going to go anywhere. Baby kelpies. So here's Anne again with Kaiden and their son eventually. So this basically says future lives here because this happens after the story. Anne is with their second child. This is not mine. I wish it was, but this is a coloring book page by Camille D'Erico, who she does a lot of pop manga. She's written Tenpopo. She just has a beautiful art style, and it's one that I would like to move towards as an artist versus the more cartoony stuff. That's an LOL doll. See, another picture wasn't going anywhere. It's not what I wanted, so cover the page in Mod Podge and move on with life. So this is Tea Time, and this is basically based on Camille D'Erico's work. So you have a sad one and a happy one. She's happy because her plate and tea is still there, and this one's sad because her tea has spilled all over her head. She still has cake, though. This one doesn't have cake, so she is better off in the long run, but her hair is wet with tea. This is an art study of Camille D'Erico's style. Her faces are amazing. I think this is one that I actually copied. I love how she does lips. Her noses are amazing. Her eyes are meh. You'll see what this is on the way back through. So like I said, I'm writing. My characters use an Ogham alphabet to write with. Horses. I'm getting better. Animals are not my strong point. So this is from when I was in Ireland. I went to the Giant's Causeway with some friends, and I just remember looking up over some of the stones, and this was the view, and it's right next to the ocean, so the waves had washed over the stones and filled them up the little hollows, and there was moss and red seaweed everywhere, and it was just beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go, it's called the Causeway because naturally the earth has produced these hexagonal rocks, and it looks like a row, and it's actually some of the easiest walking I've ever done. More background. This is from a walk that I took while I was in Ireland. You walked along this nice tame path, but on the other side was just wilderness. Lynn's playing in the water with Darren, and they're in their best clothes. So this is Lynn. She is my favorite character to draw. Anytime you see a curly-haired person, I'm probably drawing Lynn. This is her older brother, Oxian, who you've not seen yet. Oxian's my least favorite one to draw. But Lynn and Keelik are basically annoying Oxian because he's ignoring them to read his book. So Lynn is putting her butt on Oxian, which is a very sibling-ish move, in my experience. I don't know about you and your siblings, but yeah, that's something I would do. Okay, so I'm obsessed with terrariums and succulents, so why not put them together with my favorite characters? Here's a background. It's rare for me to draw backgrounds, but I tried. You'll see that on the way back through. Here's a Zentangle. Every once in a while, I just am in the mood for a Zentangle. It really is every once in a while, though. And here's my sticker collection. All right. Now the way back through with the good pictures. Good pictures. These are air quotes. There you go. All right. So this is my first picture. I normally draw the first picture as soon as I get a sketchbook, but when I was given this sketchbook, I had been given 3 sketchbooks that year. So I wasn't going to do this one because I like to do them in chronological order, but it was so much smaller, and quite frankly, I want smaller sketchbooks from now on. Alright, so this is the inverted color challenge. So basically you draw a picture, color it normal, and then you draw its reverse colors. It's based on Polly Pocket. Again, the idea of opening up an entire tiny world inside of something is amazing. More people should explore it. Okay, so this is my first costume page. This is colored pencil, the rest is marker. This is Solaris, another character from my book, and like I said, anytime I draw a curly-haired person, it's Lynn. Lynn! There's lots of Lynn. Her hair is fun to draw because it's so curly, it can do anything it wants. This is an OC. She has no name, but her head is stuck inside a terrarium. This is a castle that we saw in Ireland. So basically, you had these stairs going up, and they were much narrower and uneven. Although I feel like this is very, very accurate for what it was. But basically, it went up, and they both went into the same room. So why did you put two doors? But you know what? Whatever. Lynn and Darren around Ogham stones. These are basically boundary markers in Ireland. Lynn with pretty hair barrettes. She has so much hair, such curly hair. Might as well play with it. This is honestly based on the Golden Butterfly puzzle from Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy, I believe. I love the Professor Layton games, and this is one of my favorite puzzles to solve. You have to basically mix nectar from a bunch of flowers in order to attract the golden butterfly. Alright, more costumes. I was working on armor. So this is the one that was this, and it's 5 pieces of paper, and I glued cardboard in between to try and get some distance. So this is actually a 3D picture. I cut out the individual pages, colored them, and glued them together. I don't suggest doing it in a sketchbook, but it turned out cool, and I will probably never do it again because it was a lot of work and I wasn't happy with the results. Here's Lynn facing off her older sister Lauren. This is one I did at a meeting somewhere when I didn't have any better art supplies than notebook paper, and then I couldn't draw it in my notebook, so I just taped it in. This is one of my favorites, Sweet Poison. She is basically wearing feathers and skulls and bones and surrounded by candy. Who can't relate? I did a character creation challenge by rolling dice. Draw with Jazza does it. You have to be more creative than me to get it. I hands off to Jazza because he is amazing and I am not creative enough for that. Okay, so here's something I did based on this coloring book page by Camila Del Erico. I just like the invisible arms. Here's Corinne. It's unusual for me to draw her. That's probably why I drew her. She's sitting at her brother's gravestone with her dog. Here's Corinne again, full colored. Here's Lynn and Anne, because you can't draw those two and not draw Anne. Lynn and Darren playing in the forest. It started as a costume page, but it became a fill-in small Inktober sketches page. Here's my first picture of Inktober with ring. And the idea is these rings are actually plastic, and they have little characters inside them and colored liquid, so they slosh around. Who wouldn't want a ring like that? I think it's Frozen or Snow Queen or something. This is another Inktober prompt. This is Build, Oxian. Oh, I did draw another Oxian. And Keelik, and they're building a sand castle while their father's building a castle. I don't like this picture. This is Pattern. I think this is Ash, and it's basically a Viking wife watching her husband's funeral pyre. It was dumb. Legend. Oh, legend. Look, I wrote it in English this time. Legend. So he is the moon deer centaur man. There's Earth in the background. And if you're a moon deer centaur man, why not fill your antlers with lanterns? Slings. So this is actually Siofra. She's carrying her son in a sling. I do not draw babies well. So this is Treasure, and I drew it because I am low-key obsessed with Lord of the Rings. And for those of you who don't know, Lord of the Rings are actually the finale of the whole saga of the rings. And the first part of the saga is in a book called The Silmarillion. And in The Silmarillion, this guy named Fëanor, who has 7 sons and a wife, 2 brothers, lots of nephews and nieces, his father and grandfather, prince, king, whatever, gives all of it up for 3 precious stones. And I have always wanted to hit him for it. So here is an elf, and he is appreciating 3 human children, Lynn, Oxian, and Keelik. I drew Oxian way more than I thought I did. I don't normally like him very much. Dark. More people in snow globes, because who doesn't like people in snow globes? This is a very Lynn thing to do. So basically what she's done is she was on a flying horse off to the side, not in the picture because I was out of room. And she's like, "Hey, Darren, catch me." And Darren's like, why would you do this? Because Lynn would do that. Ooh. This is another thing about taping things into your sketchbook. You get like pop-up book. This is another picture I drew during a school meeting, but this one turned out really well, so I was happy to put that one in. This is another background picture. Here's a costume page. So Anne is actually biracial. She, her mother's father was very dark-skinned. I can't say African-American because Africa does not exist in my fictional world. And neither did America. Does America. But she is the daughter of a northern chieftain and a southern princess, so she has a very difficult skin color to get with marker. And then this is me. That is a very accurate portrayal of my skin color since I went on about that. And 4 pictures of Lynn. Because you can have 4 pictures of Lynn and no pictures of Kryn. Here's another Lynn picture and Keelik with their cat Pangerbon. And this is their house. They have a thresh floor so the chickens bring their chicks in during the night to protect them. And that's all I have to say about that. This is a realistic picture of Lynn I tried to do with watercolor. Not very good. So here's more. And so I suggest too, if you're looking for a good sketchbook, look at paper quality. This one's yellowing a bit, and my markers, this is actually the result of moving 4 markers in this tiny area, trying to get skin color and definition and shading, and it just all bled together, which is sad and disappointing. This is my all-time favorite picture ever. This is Jellyhead. She needs a better name than Jellyhead, but she is just Jellyhead, and this is my favorite picture ever. It's a particularly good one. This is just a mishmash page, but the ink is sparkly. You can't see it, but it's sparkly. This is a ferret. It's a terrible ferret, but it's a ferret. Every year around Christmas time, I feel the need to attempt to draw Art Nouveau style. And every year, I fail at it miserably. It is a lot of work, and I'm still improving. So my grandmother gave me like 20 different colors of blue markers this year for Christmas, so I used them all. I didn't feel like finishing that picture. I relate to that picture though. That is basically me. This is another Scrawler Box picture. This was my original one. So the prompt was geometric squares, and I drew curly Q vines because I refuse to square. This is a picture of Anne and Kaiden on their thrones. So this is a side part of their story, but Anne is basically a very powerful political figure in her country. Her mother's died, but she is the heir to a ginormous kingdom with a lot of power and riches. But they were invaded. So in order to protect herself and her siblings, she basically had to promise to marry this lord from another city so that they could try and get the kingdom back. And it's all well and good, you know, Anne's a political figure, whatever. But the dude she's supposed to marry dies. I hope that's not too big of a spoiler. But the council's like, well, if you want to remain here, you have to marry the new Lord of Gello. Well, the old lord died without an heir, so they hold a tournament, and the council's of course thinking, oh, my son's gonna get in and he'll be the next powerful king of this country. A peasant gets in, and this is Kaiden. And a big part of the side story is Anne and Kaiden building a relationship. I don't feel like that gives too many things away. Oh look, I drew squares. I drew this after seeing the Drawing with Waffles episode because it's like, oh yeah, I can do that background. I like that background. And you know what? The background's my favorite part of this picture. I hate her. Here's Anne again, and I got her skin color much better this time. Markers are very hard to get good skin color with because they dry so much lighter than they go down. My only regret really is I made her outfit too dark, and this blue here should have been much more pastel. This is another one of my favorite pictures. It's based on Legend of